Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. In today's video we'll be looking at how well the Ryzen 5 2600 holds up 3 years later in 2021. The Ryzen 5 2600 was released in April of 2018 at the price of £170 or $199. It has since been on multiple sales and can now be bought for around the £100 mark used or around £120 new. The Ryzen 5 2600 has 6 cores and 12 threads with a base clock speed of 3.4 GHz and a boost clock of 3.9 GHz. However, with good cooling, custom RAM timings and tweaking some overclock settings, this CPU can have its base clock pushed to and above the 4 GHz mark. The processor on the AM4 socket and the other specs include 576 KB of level 1 cache, 3 MB of level 2 cache and 16 MB of level 3 cache. The processor also has a TDP of 65 watts. So with the specs dealt with, let's have a look at some benchmarks. First up is Cinebench R20. All tests today were performed at the out of box settings, so the stock clock speeds for the processor. For those of you wondering as well, we are using the Cooler Master Thermal Paste and Cooler Master Hyper 212 Turbo CPU cooler. In Cinebench R20 we got a score of 2762 at the out of box settings, but as you can see on the side of the graph, with a 4 GHz overclock before, we got a score of 3009, which puts the processor 436 points shy of a first gen Ryzen 7 1700X, which has an extra 2 cores and 4 extra threads. The next test up is 3D Mark's Time Spy, where we got a combined score of 4444 with our GTX 1060 6GB. However, our Ryzen 5 2600 individual score was 6095. And finally, I thought I would give City Skylines a test, as the game is more reliant on the CPU compared to the graphics card, even though it doesn't fully utilise anything really. As you can see, the game doesn't fully utilise the CPU, but what it does seem to spike the CPU usage is heavy scenes in the day at junctions with heavy traffic. That's what seems to stress the CPU out more and lower the frame rate. But with the CPU we managed to get a max FPS of 60 FPS, but the average was around 40 FPS, as it seems that the game doesn't use all the cores that are offered to it. So to conclude, should you buy the Ryzen 5 2600 in 2021? Well, the answer is yes, if you can get it at the right price, as the year newer Ryzen 5 3600 sells for around £20 more than the 2600, which is really good value for the Ryzen 5 3600, as it has a slightly higher base clock of 3.6 GHz and a higher boost clock of 4.2 GHz, as well as the ICP improvements that come with a new generation processor. But if you can get the Ryzen 5 2600 for £80 or below, it is worth it over the 3600. Or if you are getting this processor, or you're on this processor, I would stick with the 2600 for now, until you have enough money to afford a Ryzen 7 3rd gen. Anyway, if you like this video, remember to leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. And I'll see all of you in the next one.